Hey folks, my name is Snowmutt, and today I'm going to be bringing you a deck profile for YGO based on Paleozoic Volcanics. You thought I was going to say frogs. No, Paleozoic Volcanics. So I'm going to run through this pretty quick by engine, and I'm going to pretty much go forward with the assumption that you either already know what these cards do, or that you have enough mind to just look them up if you don't know them. So if you don't catch the card names, I'm going to be posting the deck list in a paste bin link in the description below. So feel free to look up the cards if you don't know what they are. You know, pause the video or something, doesn't matter. I'll pretty much only talk about like a couple cards, but mostly I'm going to be talking about how the deck synergizes. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, 3 Volcanic Rocket, 3 Volcanic Scattershot, 3 Volcanic Shell, 3 Royal Firestorm Guards, and 3 Blaze Accelerator Reload. Obviously, this is the card that kind of brought new life to the deck, that Reload. I love it. So far, I've been having a ton of fun with it, but that's the Volcanic Engine. We've also got, as far as Paleozoics go, 3 Canadia, 3 Dinomitius, 1 Leonqualia, 3 Marella, 3 Olenoids, and 1 Pikaia. And that pretty much rounds out the Paleozoics cards. Then, as far as the weird fluff stuff goes, the one card I'm probably going to talk about a little bit, just because you may or may not recognize it, Juraghetto. It is a 1700 body, level 4, Dark Fiend. Says that during either player's battle step, not battle phase, keep that in mind, you can special summon it from your hand and gain 1,000 life points. And then, while it's face up on the field, you can tribute it at any time to give another monster on the field 1,000 attack. So that's pretty cool. Keep in mind that's plus 1,000 attack. That's a bonus. Doesn't like change their original attack or anything. There's those guys. 2 Instant Fusion. Obvious plays are obvious. 3 Duality. Pretty much any deck that doesn't have to special summon to gain any kind of significant advantage or to win probably should be running these. 1 Jar of Avarice, and 3 Reckless Greed. So again, you know what these cards do. And if you don't, look them up. So Reckless Greeds help accelerate your plays. Jar of Avarice, its primary function is a backup for your guards and a more reactive solution to, say, cards like Soul Release or Big Burn if your opponent decides to run Big Burn for some reason. Things like that. Just, again, a more reactive option to put back your scatter shots. Instant Fusions, it's another backup card. We make Emerald. I haven't even gone in the extra deck yet. You just need to know we make Emerald. That's the most important card in the extra deck. And this guy can help push a lot of damage. Basically, say for instance your opponent, you cleared your field, or you cleared their field just recently with Scattershot. Well, now you have a clear field to swing against. If you have like 2 monsters in the field, declare an attack, special summon, continue attack, declare an attack, tribute damage calc, give it another 1,000. You just pushed an extra 2,700 damage across the board. That's pretty significant because of the Scattershot burn that builds up so quickly. So it's pretty good. As far as the Paleozoic stuff, you all know that they special summon themselves, they make totally awesome, all that fun stuff, but this is the card that synergizes well with the deck. Basically, it's just a lot harder to deal with Blaze Accelerator Reload if it's in the graveyard than if it's on the field. Your opponent can just MST this, and it's like, oh no, now I can't send my Scattershot from my hand to the graveyard. Whereas if this is in your graveyard, you just banish it, and you get to send your Scattershot directly from the deck to the grave, so free nukes. And Marella basically makes that live right away. Dinomitius also synergizes pretty well with the archetype because of Shell. Since Shell just cantrips, it replaces itself in the hand, and Dinomitius forces you to discard a card. So, you know, again, free resources pretty much. It's free real estate. But that's it. That's the deck. That's the main deck, 40 cards. And it's really fun. I like it. I'm going to go through the extra deck just as fast. Again, I'm assuming that you pretty much know what all these cards do. And if you don't know what something does, look it up. I do have the paste bin link down there, so take a look. Darkfire Dragon, Norden, we all know those are the obvious instant fusion targets. Emerald, like I said, we run Emerald. It's a backup plan for guards because you have to keep Scattershot live as often as possible. Dweller, Castell, Diamond Dyer. Dweller shuts down a lot of opposing graveyard decks. Castell and Diamond Dyer are just answers to weird things. Downard, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it, but I run Opabinia. So I'm like, hey, might as well do something with it. Give it a body. Cowboy and Heartland Draco steal games. Honor Arc, in my opinion, is still a staple. Giant Hand is a great option if you nuke your opponent's field after they overextend and they only have like 1 or 2 cards left in hand, because especially with how monster effect based this card game is, Giant Hand's a really easy way to lock down a board if they've only got like 2 cards to deal with. Then the 2 Opabinia I mentioned, they search for your Paleozoic cards. That's why we only run 1 Pikaia and 1 Leonqualia, is because they're searchable. But Leonqualia, like I said, basically, or I didn't actually mention earlier, but it's basically like a 4th Blaze Accelerator reload, so that's pretty good. So it's good to have that as an option to search for. And then the 2 Totally Awesome. You all know what this does by at this point. Negate stuff, steal cards, and then put it back. And it's very, very easily accessed by your Paleozoic cards. And that's the extra deck. We're also going to go into the side just a little bit. I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about this meta. I'm pretty much just trying to cover my bases, cover like basic stuff, and make sure that my deck can still operate, even if my opponent runs something weird that's going to otherwise try to shut me down. So that in mind, Trap Eaters. You're already looking at me like I'm crazy. I know it. I can feel your eyes on me. But Trap Eater is actually pretty cool. Basically, if my opponent has Royal Decree, I get rid of it. It says that I can special summon it from my hand by sending any one of my opponent's face-up trap cards to from the field to the graveyard. So, say my opponent has like a safe zone lot going on with White Dragon Ninja or Master Key Beetle. This doesn't care, because it doesn't destroy, it sends. It's kind of like the way that Lava Golem or Volcanic Queen tributes your opponent's monsters as a summoning condition. So even if they try to negate the summon of the monster, the damage is done. You've already gotten rid of their, their boss card, pretty much. And against this deck, Royal Decree is a boss card. On top of that, it's a 1900 beater. It's a tuner, so you actually have synchro options if you really want them. And but more than anything, it helps open up that extra deck. Just like Instant Fusion, it helps open up that extra deck as a toolbox option. So that's pretty cool. Then we've also got the Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This is my only real answer to the Paleozoic Mirror Match. Get rid of their Totally Awesomes, basically, since I run Totally Awesome. At that point, I kind of just assume I win. I don't know. That's all theory. But if you have any suggestions, let me know, because I have no idea what to do in that matchup. Pot of Acquisitiveness. Put back my Scattershots if they get banished. As you probably know, since you probably found this deck doing research for a Volcanic deck, Pot of Acquisitiveness is to put back my Scattershots in case they get banished, because if they get banished, I lose. So that's kind of important. 1 Twin Twisters. This actually makes a pretty nice little back row removal engine with the Trap Eaters. So usually what I do is I take out my Jurgettos, put in my Trap Eaters, and then side out, like, I don't know, an Olenoids or something. Because usually if I'm siding in Trap Eaters, it's because of Decree. So Twin Twisters just helps to get rid of, like, Pendulum stuff and things like that. And then we're also running 2 Mask of Restrict. I have no excuse for this, except that I'm terrified of Monarchs. I feel like they're the only deck that could probably beat me in a War of Attrition, because while I have to consistently recycle and redump all of my Scattershots in order to nuke their one monster, they just need that one monster, because it's bigger than anything that I can put out. So Mask of Restrict kind of shuts that down, or at least slows them down long enough that I can maybe, I don't know, burn them to death. I haven't had to deal with any Monarchs yet, so that's all theory again. And then I run 6 Mirror. 3 Light Imprisoning, 3 Shadow Imprisoning. I think these cards are amazing. Every time that I have sided these cards in since I started playing the game, I've won. Literally 100% win ratio against anything I've sided these in against. Some people will say, oh, you only need 2 of each. I prefer to have the 3 of each, because I would rather make sure that if I'm siding in a card that I know is going to 100% shut down my opponent's deck, I would rather make sure that I have as many copies of that card as possible. to make sure that I can open up with it as soon as possible. Either open with it or draw into it really early in the game. And like I said, so far, every time I sided it in, I have won. So I would rather just run the 6. And that's just a generic option. I didn't really side them in with any like particular decks in mind or anything. I just really like them against I don't know, like Blue Eyes, Burning Abyss, things like that, Lightsworn, anything with like field or graveyard effects that's light or dark based, they just win. At that point, if they can't get rid of it, or if they can't get rid of it fast enough, then I just win. So that's the deck. Paleozoic Volcanics. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I am coming back to this game after a long hiatus. I started back in Machina Mayhem, and then I kind of stopped around Pendulums, so a lot of the meta is very new to me. But if you have any suggestions, again, let me know. I would love to hear them, especially side deck advice. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and I will see you all later. Take care.